All right, guys, we disconnected the battery. We went ahead and disconnected these two connectors. They're just held by these simple push and pull it, you know. We got to take this intake off so we could get access to this fan. It's gonna be a little mission, but we're gonna get it done. All right, guys, we went ahead and removed this piece. It was like this. There's two 8 mils that are holding that in place. Now we disconnected everything over here. We disconnected everything over here. We loosened up everything over here. So now we should just be able to pop this thing out, and then we're gonna just go ahead and wiggle it out. I'm gonna see if these don't get in the way, but if so, we might have to disconnect them and just move them out of the way. Go ahead and disconnect this map sensor. Just squeeze down and pull. All right, guys, we removed the coolant housing. It was just two hoses on there. Just clamp and twist and pull. And then on the back side right here, you just use a flathead and pull against it while you push up. And this motor mount, there's 4 bolts, but we only removed 2 of them. They're two 15 mil, just so we could slightly just push the motor, even if it's just an inch, and then we'll push it right back and put the bolts right back in. All right, guys, so after fidgeting with it for a while, I went ahead and just removed both of the motor mounts, both bolts for the motor mount. There's 4 of them, but I only removed 2 of them. At first it might seem like it doesn't want to wedge, but just jack it up a little bit and you'll just be able to shift it back and forth as you please. All right, guys, went ahead and removed this one bolt that's holding some type of coolant transfer, but this whole piece is held by this bolt. It comes unattached, and we'll be able to just place it back onto the new fan. I'll show you on the new setup. You see, guys, right here is that same bolt that's holding this in place. This comes off, and then we just keep the original on there. All right, guys, we got a little clamp right there and another clamp right there. We're just gonna work it out slowly. All right, guys, so it's somewhat out already, and we were able to get it over this line without disconnecting that line. We're just a little bit pinched on the AC, but we're gonna just slowly wiggle. All right, guys, so with a little bit of patience, this is one of those things that you gotta just wiggle your way through it. This is the old one. This is the new one. So look, inside the vehicle, you take this bolt off, this screw, this T-screw, and you lift up and you push up. So the one that's already in there, once we place this, we're gonna just sit it and push down and then place the bolt back on. All right, guys, so I was able to, getting it back in is way easier than getting it out. It's just one of those things that you gotta use a little bit of force while you wiggle at the same time. We already, where we at? We got the clamp right there connected. Over here, we're already connected. So we're gonna just go ahead and connect everything back on, put the intake back on, and start them up. All right, guys, so we went ahead and connected the power. This is the power going directly from the fuses from the battery. So we now got electricity. This is gonna kick on and off. Plug everything back up, go for a little test drive after I wash my hands. All right, guys, so whenever you're dealing with this intake housing for these Volvos, I suggest, because there's videos where they take them out and put them back in, but you're gonna spend more time an effort and energy doing that versus right at the beginning just remove the motor mount. You only have to remove two 15 mil bolts, and then you could just push the motor back while it's supported and then put it all back in, and then we just shove it back forward, put the bolts back, and then we're good. Alright guys, so the bottom one you just push in and then push down, and the top one is the same way but just up. Look, you see? Alright guys, reconnect this map sensor, reconnect this right here. Okay. Alright guys, we went ahead and connected the hoses, went ahead and put the cover back on. Everything is plugged back in. The only thing we got to do now is shift the motor back so those holes line up. Alright guys, look, there's no key inserted
because it's a 6-month warranty. It's a 6-month warranty.
You see how we got power to the fan, and yet the key's in my hand? And when we disconnect the power from right here, it turns off. So it's the fan that's stuck open. So for now, we're gonna just have to work with the battery until we swap out another one. Alright guys, I'm driving the vehicle. The AC seems to be blowing colder now that that rag isn't stuck in the serpentine belt, and now that the cooling fan is working properly. So far so good guys. We drove a couple miles and temperature's holding steady. AC seems to be blowing colder, so the client got a cooling fan from the junkyard, so we took care of the overheating issue, but they sold her a faulty cooling fan so it stays on. Guys, the client bought a used radiator fan from the junkyard, and we took care of the overheating issue, but the fan doesn't want to turn off, so they sold her a defective fan. But better it stay on than not turn on at all, and then we'll just swap it out when she buys a new one. That's the chances that you take buying pre-owned parts. There's a chance that they work but have some sort of issue.